So I think, it's yet another attempt to go in that direction, and hopefully this will not be one which has gone back in the panel of forgotten outcomes of workshop and seminars. And since the outcomes of the CMS exercise is going to go into the document which the Government of India is going to share at the CBD COP, maybe we hope that some result will be originated out of it. As a moderator, I have also the responsibility of requesting our panelists to kind of restrict the time limit into a time frame of 15 minutes. Normally panel discussions are normally not done in the presentation mode. Mostly the moderator asks the questions and answers. But I think there may have been a reason for the CMS to request for a presentation mode, because they need to compile something. So they need to have something in hand. And in a very short time span, they need to do that. So they have requested for panelists to make a presentation. And I know at least 2 or 3 people have presentation, and others may not have a presentation, but they will probably speak extempore on this particular presentation. I would start with Professor S.P. Singh, Chair of Excellence at the FRI University, former Vice Chancellor, and advisor to the State Planning Commission of the State of Uttarakhand. As people in this hall probably know a great deal more about him than I do, but I know if you talk about Professor Singh, you cannot separate his work from starting from a leaf to the ecosystem involved with the plant communities. And I would ask you to make a presentation focused into plant community per se, but at the same time on the greater Himalaya and the kind of impact the climate change will have. First I will request Professor Singh to make his presentation. Thank you, Professor Singh.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. I think I'm here because you suggested my name. My talk in general is a popular type because I thought that the audience, I'm not sure about the kind of audience I'm going to get. But Dr. Barfan raised a point that these things should have spectrum when we are seriously doing something nowadays, so I want to refer to that before I say my popular talk. Dr. Korea took initiative and we started doing something, Indian Motor Initiative, in which the one task was that how to really value ecosystem services particularly. It's a very challenging task. Economists jumped into this area first. But where the real issue is that how to measure, say, services in biophysical terms. The money things come at all. We did this exercise and I think it's a kind of a simple way of doing things. How to really, you need to really consider ecosystem services which are measurable easily, and then say that should be a simple way of doing things. So we consider in that biodiversity as one of the components of ecosystem services, and we consider 3 components: number of species of a state, endemic content, and third was the asylum value of a state. Asylum value means when global warming takes place, what will be the species would have to move to some area, safe area. What is that how to quantify the asylum value of a given state? By doing so, we have already made that index. Then we consider carbon sequestration, then river flow, and so on. All those things which are measurable. So we have some solutions, and Government of India is already in principle is considering it. 12 Himalayan states are going to send the report, and in which we have given some values. Uttarakhand stand third. One is the first is Arunachal Pradesh, second is Kashmir because of the sheer size. Kashmir has, and Uttarakhand is third, and something like that. Then Government of India has to decide how much money these tribes should be given. Well, this is already going on. I'm saying this is the first attempt that way. Earlier, Dr. Tulia also took the lead, and in which we could convince the 12th Finance Commission that some money should be given for ecosystem services, but they were all symbolic. But now these things are coming into that form. So I'm sure that if this is going to realize, then it will have some practical value. What I'm going to talk about is something biodiversity in relation to climate change in the Himalayas. I said you go from one altitude zone to another. I just want to show that, say, normally people talk about mountains as if there's one altitude, no. And then Himalayas are unusual because of east to west arc is so wide, about 3,000 kilometers. And things change a lot from east to west and west to east, something like that. Well, I'm not going to talk about those details. My point is that biodiversity in mountains has a very different meaning than normally people visualize. Next. Why Himalayas are so important, biodiversity point of view? One point is that they're the high endemism, high species number, and this global intergenerational value of biodiversity is huge thing. I'm saying biodiversity should be valued also for next generation. I'm saying options of next generation should not be reduced. So that's why biodiversity has the national and international implications as far as service is concerned. And just before that. And then if someone asks question, what is the global value of Himalayan biodiversity? We have not done this exercise globally. I'm saying if we do it, then I'm sure Nature or Science would could agree to publish it. But there was some example like Yarsa Gomba, it's an accident. But about $3 to $8 billion economy has developed right from Tibet to, say, some parts of this state. And they say that this must be the biggest rural economies ever accomplished on the face of Earth. Simply the last thing I mentioned is genetic, the mountains provide areas for genetic evolution. I'm saying some endemism is because of the isolated mountain peaks and summits and the, say, unfavorable conditions in which plants and species are left to evolve in their own way. So that's a factory. Mountains provide a kind of factory for evolution to take place. And asylum value, I think, is the important component, especially in case of, say, Himalayas, because this is the biggest wilderness in, say, in much of this part of the world. So species have to settle down somewhere if the global climate change takes place. There will be many obstructions, so humans or forest department or others would have to play a role, provide corridors, maybe lifting of the species from one place to another, that may be required. So that kind of assistance will be required, but you need habitat. So these are last of the habitat for that kind of service. So that's a really important area as far as this one is concerned. This is a word I coined. I want to take credit of this. Asylum value, and which is, I hope that people will start accepting this as a concept. Next one. Yes, Himalaya, why Himalaya? The other point is that Himalaya is rich in biodiversity, and Himalaya itself is a problem. It's a maker of the climate of the much of the subcontinent. And this itself is a problem, and one of the consequences they say is that the models indicate that we don't have enough data, we know we are aware of the shortages of data, but whatever data we have, that shows that the temperature rise, extent of temperature rise increases with altitude. So, the areas where snowfall takes place, where alpine communities live or medicinal plants occur, they are going to face the biggest changes. That's a really one problem. Next. Well, these are models based on, so they show that Himalayan glaciers are perhaps going to retreat faster. Then there is a controversial issues. Controversial issues are many in climate change. We will say that whether this climate change is because of other factors or because of global greenhouse gases, all these things are said, but climate change is taking place, most of the people agree. Next one, I'll just say we don't, whatever data we have, we don't analyze properly. The real problem is this. FRA2 has some data from meteorology of some years, but nobody has analyzed that. We did this exercise from, say, Himachal, and they showed that there are certain very, say, interesting observations that the nights are getting warmer, days are, then the length of the periods when droughts are happening is increasing, lengths of the days when there was a continuous rain is decreasing, and so on. So that kind of changes already are being observed. These are real data, these are not models. Next one. So, in nutshell, whatever data we have, there is a more rise, just a bit back. more rise in winters, more in nights, more with altitude, and precipitation is uncertain. In general, the data, whatever data we have. And to do this exercise for, say, Hindu Kush Himalaya, for last one, this COP meeting, and I was one of the editors exercise, analyzing the climate change in relation to Himalaya, and these are summaries based on those analyses. Next one. Well, this is a very controversial area that, say, whether glaciers are melting. Someone says that, well, some are freezing also. What is the story? What is the real status? This figure was published in a paper in Science. This analysis of all these studies carried out during that period for last several years. And what you are seeing is that as you go away from the arrow, there's a confidence level increases. And as you go away from that, then the confidence level is more. Now, if you look at, say, data which show that the glaciers are increasing, they are on right hand. There are very few data. And their confidence level is very low. So those who argue that, well, this is, in science also, you can produce someone who can contradict and create problem for you. But this is that's why science could publish it. This is an analysis based on, say, what is the confidential level, what is the level of confidence in that data. This was based on a number of years. Whether the method used is only snow tip or it is also a volume mass balance method. All these methods that you will see that on the right hand which data will show that they are increases taking place. They are based on only snow tip data generally. They don't have any mass balance data, and so that's why their confidence level is low. So the overall story is that shrinkage is taking place. There are some exceptions, but they are of low confidence level, not of more data collected over a long period. So this is a summarization of the whole result as far as shrinkage in Himalaya is concerned, and glacier melts are a real problem. Next one. So, but the point is that now next question is that what will happen to our rivers? Dr. Chaudhary said that you should talk about some water also. Again, say, you need to really have a better understanding. For example, say, the snow melt contribution to overall discharge of river is concerned is not that big, except in few cases like Indus River. But even in this case, they say that overall water discharge may not decline much, or may not be as much as people have held out, simply because the rainfall value may increase. So we need to really consider many factors, not only snowmelt, but what is going to happen to precipitation in general. But as far as mountain people are concerned, this snowmelt is going to be a problem. And say if we don't have those snows, then we are going to have several kinds of problems, including the composition of alpine meadows, their functioning, medicinal plants, and all those things. They may be in problem because you know that those who know alpine meadows, they know that some plants start growing just after snow melt. And they don't wait for monsoon to appear. So now when snow is melted away, then that supplied water would not be there, then what kind of physiological changes they would be required to really adjust in those conditions can be a serious problem. Because they start growing just after melt. They don't wait for monsoon to occur, whereas in the plains, grasses wait for monsoon to commence to start growing. So that can be a problem. Next one. Well, this is just to show the data that Indus, yes, it is a very important component of, say, so that's why Pakistan is going to have a serious problem, more than about 40%. Then Brahmaputra, less than 20. Ganges is going to be a very small fraction. Next one. Then where the species can go, what will happen to species? This is the diagram which I used to, based on corner. What is suggested that there are many ways the species can adjust. There is a species on the right direction which has no place to go. So it has to become extinct because there is no mountain. So mountains are a very crucial component of this whole scenario. Then in the foothills there are some species which can move up, but there are species which are close to snow peaks, summits, which are going to be very serious problems. They have to fall down or they have to become extinct. Recently, a study was carried out in Europe. They considered about 50 summits, 50 mountain summits across whole Europe, and they tried to show what has happened in the last 10 years. They showed that if you look at, say, all those 50 summits, the number of species towards summit has increased by about 3.9%. 3.9 species per summit on average. But there are Mediterranean regions which are losing species because of shortage of water. So the point is that a data that will show that species are going to move towards summit. So overall species are going to be, say, increase in that area may not be correct because there may be a Mediterranean area because of shortage of water, they may lose many species. We need to have a better understanding of those things. So this diagram I just tried to show that, use this just to show that there are many ways these species could face problems. One of the consequences was that endemic species were lost earlier than the normal species, and the least affected were invasive species, means the which came from outside were least affected. So this it means in future species, even if the species number increases, you may have a more crude species, which are already problem. That can be the situation. Next one. Well, this was just to show that this species, Quercus semigulfolia, can't really go up for a very long time. I know that there's a place, China Peak in Anitas, many would be familiar. It has a stand of several stands of Quercus semigulfolia. I don't see any place where this species can go as far as that part is concerned. Next one. This is just to show that this Sekium study was carried out. I analyzed that